hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to my channel, Winning and Living Golden. I am Lisa L. McLean. I'm here with you on this episode of Winning Wednesday. And so today our topic is finance. And go ahead, please, go ahead, share this broadcast. Click on if you're in YouTube, click on the alert button, subscribe to my channel. I don't want you to miss any of these tasty topics that I am sharing on this channel on Wednesdays around the topics of life, finance, heart and spirit, and business. So today, again, we are talking about finance. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a magnifying glass, if you will, into my personal life. I am coming up on several thousands of miles on my vehicle. And I have long since paid this car off. I financed this vehicle almost 10 years ago. And so I paid it off in just a few years, about 3 years. And so now I am embarking upon, which is going to be a decision probably sooner than later, to purchase a new vehicle, right? So what I want to talk to you about today is the question of, are y'all ready? You ready for this? The question of paying cash all out for a new car versus financing the vehicle. So I will tell you that for the longest time, I was definitely a proponent of paying cash for a vehicle, no matter what the cost. So I always said, you know, my next vehicle, I will be paying outright with cash, whether it's $20,000, $30,000. And so now I'm at this place where I'm embarking upon the time where it's going to be that time for me to get another car. I'm right at, 180,000 miles. Car's still working very well. I'm going to have to get some brakes on it soon. But I know that when it gets to around 200,000 or so, or even maybe before that, I will definitely be looking at getting another vehicle. So the question again, do we pay cash? Do we finance? And so I want to talk about some of the elements that go into paying cash for a car versus financing a car. We'll talk about the paying cash first. So we got this lump sum. We've saved up this money. We have this money in our bank account, or it's liquid where we can pull it from stocks or wherever we have this money saved up in investments. And so we got this. I'll just give an easy, even number, $20,000. We want to spend $20,000 for another car. I always buy used. One of my first vehicles back in the day when I was in my early 20s was a new car. And I've not bought a new car since because I learned the principle of depreciation. So everything that I do now is definitely a used car so that I can make sure that I get the best bang for my buck, for one, but then also negotiating helps you to ensure that you drive off the lot with just a little bit of equity in the car, where the market price for the vehicle is actually more than what you paid for it. And that's what I did with this current vehicle that I have now. So we're talking about $20,000 cash, right? So we got this money in our hand, ready to buy this car outright. One of the benefits of purchasing a car with cash is negotiating power. So, and I'm not going to go through all of the benefits and all of the cons of both the cash purchase versus the financing purchase, but I do want to just kind of get you to thinking about how this works and what the benefits and advantages are versus what the cons are and the disadvantages are. So cash, we got this cash. One of the benefits again is being able to negotiate. So you get on that lot and you let them know that you got cash in hand. They don't have to worry about financing, trying to find you a financing company, or dealing with the paperwork of a loan and all that good stuff that comes along with financing. So you then become a more appealing buyer when you're paying with cash. So that is one of the benefits of paying with cash. Obviously, you don't have a car payment, right? So that's another benefit. You just don't have that extra payment every month that you're having to pay out of, just the transaction every month. So you get rid of that, you eliminate that. A third benefit is when you're paying with cash, you don't pay the interest on a loan because you're paying everything up front in a lump sum. So I should have done some calculations for you guys before I got on this live. But say you have a $20,000 loan and you have an interest rate of I'll say 5%, which is very doable for someone with good credit, and we'll talk about that as well. 5% interest rate, and you're paying on that $20,000 loan. I will give it 4 years. That's what I always recommend with my clients if they are financing a vehicle. 4 years is a really good time period so that you minimize the total amount of interest that you're paying out over the course of that loan term. But off the top of my mind, I can't think of what the actual interest is on that. But I will just say for instance, the interest rate is 5% and we're doing a simple interest on $20,000, right? So that interest ends up being $100. Let's see, 520, yeah, $100 a year. And if we just did simple interest, $100 a year, that ends up being $400 of interest that you've paid on that $20,000 loan over 4 years. Now, that's not how the interest is calculated. And I may have to put in the comments what the actual interest is once I can go to my calculator and do the calculations myself. But that's just an example. So when you're paying for cash, you avoid that interest. So those are some of the benefits of paying with cash. Now, I want to talk about financing. And as I talk about financing, I'll also discuss some of the disadvantages of paying with cash. So when we talk about financing, here we go. We're talking about financing, and this is for many people who don't have the cash, right? Who have not saved up for this goal, which it should be a goal that you're saving up for to either, put enough cash down to minimize your payment. Or if you decide that you're one of those people who want to just pay outright cash for your car, it should be a goal that you're saving for, and it should be a part of your budget. So you're deciding to finance the car, right? You're decided to finance the car. Say you have a credit score that's under 700, or even under under 650. The lower your credit score, the higher your interest rate is going to be, right? So the lower your credit score, the higher your interest rate, the more interest you're going to pay for using other people's money. And we talked about that before, OPM, other people's money. I put a Tuesday term out there yesterday for everyone to begin just becoming real well-versed in financial terms and business terms. And I use the term leverage. And when we leverage, one of the things that we do with leveraging is using other people's money. And so that's what's happening when we finance and take out a loan to purchase a vehicle. We are using other people's money. Now, credit score low, interest rate high. I've seen interest rates on some of my clients that I've assisted as high as 20% on a vehicle because their credit scores were in the 500s. That is not unheard of, guys. And what I was able to do was help them do some credit repair to get those delinquencies and marks off of their credit report so that they could increase that credit score within 30 days. And so at a 700 credit score, that 20% interest rate may have come down to about 5%. I think I did maybe a 4% with one client. And just as an example, personal example, with my credit score being over 800, I was able to get, it wasn't even a 2% interest rate. It was a 1.9 or 75 or something when I purchased my vehicle many years ago. But that is the power of having a decent, higher credit score. You pay less money. You pay less in interest. And you also could have a better negotiating stance when you have a higher credit score. For instance, with higher credit scores, when you're financing, the dealership can offer you other incentives. They can offer you rebates on that financing. They can offer you a 0% interest rate. Have you seen those advertisements with the 0% APR? Well, that is reserved for those with excellent credit. So that's one of the reasons why it's important that we manage our debt well, which is how we maintain a decent higher credit score. So we're financing this car and we're paying this interest on this loan. One of the benefits is that you are not paying out the $20,000 in our example. You're not paying that out at one time. You're kind of doling it out over time. So say, for instance, $220,000 loan, 5%, well, I say 5% interest rate. That's probably about a $300, $315, somewhere around there payment. Again, I will put in the comments the actual details of the formulas so you can see what the payments and the actual numbers are. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head using that example. So you get to dole that money out instead of releasing all of that cash in one time. That's what I would consider a benefit of financing. Also, again, the higher you can have your credit score, if you can work on your credit, you could actually purchase a vehicle with 0% APR. Now, I will say that most of what I have seen in the market when it comes to a 0% APR is for new cars only, right? So I will put that caveat in there. Most of the time when you see a 0% APR or 0% down payment, that's normally incentives that the dealer is offering to purchasers who are buying brand new vehicles. So a lot of times when it's a used car, which again, I always recommend to buy used, and you'll see that in my book as well, Slay Your Finances, where I talk about purchasing a new versus a used car. Doing that used car with a higher higher credit score, being above about 720, 740. If you can get your credit score up there, you will be able to get the lowest interest rates. I've seen them still even as low as 2%. Even though interest rates are being raised, especially, I know you guys have probably seen the mortgage rates are almost at 5% now, and we're barely into the full quarter of this calendar year. The quarter hasn't even ended yet, and it's already risen from what was started at 2% something to almost 5% in just a matter of 3 months. So the interest rate can still be really low with the car, used car. Again, that's what I recommend. And so one of the disadvantages, I said I would speak about the disadvantages. One of the disadvantages of cash buying as opposed to financing is you could take that cash, that $20,000 as a lump sum, and instead of putting that on a car, which is a depreciable asset. Again, I talk about depreciable assets inside of my book, Slay Your Finances, ABCDs of Personal Finance. I actually will be re-releasing an expanded edition version of that very book here soon. So look out for that. But I talk about vehicles being depreciable assets, unless they're like luxury classic cars, antiques, that kind of thing. But just for a regular car, it's a depreciable asset. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it's depreciating. Over time, you could actually end up being upside down in a car. And I talk about that too, upside down living. But upside down in a car, meaning that the loan balance is more than what the car is worth. So if you went to try and trade it in, or you tried to sell it to another party, you would have to make up the difference, because the amount that you owe on the loan is more than what the car is worth. And that's what we want to avoid. But I wanted to just really hone in on the difference between buying with cash and financing. What I plan to do with my specific situation, my own personal situation, is instead of doing what I always thought I would do, which is buy with cash, $20,000, $30,000, car, which is not a cash car. That's not the same. When you hear the term cash car, most of the time when you hear the term, the phrase cash car, we're talking about a $5,000 to possibly $10,000 car that might be about 10 years old and has over 100,000 miles on it. You're talking about something just get around, from A to B within the city. But what I'm talking about is a nice car, maybe just, a few years old, and you're putting that lump sum down. And what I want to do instead of doing that is take that money and invest it. So take that money and invest it in the right investment vehicles, whether it's fine art. I invest in fine art, gold and silver, real estate. You could invest it in stocks if you're willing to wait the long haul, right, to see that return on your investment, that ROI. But that is the best recommendation for between financing and doing a lump sum upfront payment for a car. And that's if the market warrants it. So basically you look at, okay, what is the interest rate that I would be paying to finance the vehicle? What would be the interest cost over the total life of that loan? Versus what would be the return, right, on the investment if I were to take that cash and lump sum invest it into an investment vehicle. It doesn't have to be just one. You could spread it out and diversify, which is going to be another Tuesday term for us. Diversification. You can diversify the investment amongst several portfolio assets in your portfolio. The key is choosing the right investment and ensuring that the market will return higher than the cost of the interest if you were doing the interest. So say, for instance, you you invested this, you wanted to invest this $20,000, but you see that the market has just been crazy over the last 5 years, 10 years, and the return on this money is only 2%. And you can, turn around and finance your vehicle, and the interest rate is 2%. Well, you're kind of looking at a break even there, right? As you could gain 2%, but only pay a 2% interest rate on the financing. And that 2% is very close to like paying with cash. So you basically you would have the payments every month on the financing side at 2% interest and still be able to invest. So that's what I wanted to show you as well with the financing. Because you're not paying out that $20,000 all at one time, you could actually make more money financing. So get that, you could make more money financing than you could investing. You could take that $20,000 and invest it, or you could finance and still be investing a portion of that because you're not having to pay out the full $20,000 at one time. So again, financing, low interest rate, short loan term, 3 to 4 years, which is going to help to decrease the interest cost that you're paying on that loan. And then you're staging it out, kind of staggering out your investments so that you always have enough money to make the payment, but everything else is in some sort of investment vehicle that's earning you money. And it's going to be more than the 2% interest rate that you're paying on that loan. I hope I made that clear. So looking at the cash investment, yes, you could take the cash, the part that's not being used for the financing every month, and take a portion of it and invest that. So that's the difference between making a cash purchase, which is taking all of my $20,000 in this example and just giving it up, losing all of the possibility of earning any interest whatsoever on that money, and opposed to financing at an extremely low interest rate because you have a very high credit score, because Lisa L. McLean has helped you get there, and a short-term loan, which will help to minimize and reduce the interest cost over the term of that loan. And then you're taking the balance of that money, the balance of that $20,000 that you actually have saved up. You have that money liquid somewhere, and you're continuing to invest it. So I hope this information has been helpful. I know that many people actually have the idea that I want to pay for cash for things, but we have to begin thinking like the wealthy think. The wealthy use OPM. They don't use their own cash. They use other people's money, because other people's money, if we can get it at a low rate and then still invest our own cash, and also using other people's money. Now, in this situation, it's not really the ideal or the relevant use of the word OPM. OPM is usually a term that you use when you're talking about leveraging other people's money for investing, for a return. And that is definitely not the case here when we're talking about purchasing a car. A car is not an investment. A car, while it's an asset, it's a depreciable asset. And again, I talk about that And I'll do a Tuesday term on that as well, so that everyone understands what depreciable means when it comes to assets. But other people's money, I do want to make that clear, is normally a term and a method, a tool that we use when we're talking about investing. So we're talking about taking someone else's money who we're paying them a low interest rate for, right? And we're taking that money and we're investing it in something that's gonna increase our actual return far above and beyond what the interest cost of that loan is. And so I do that with real estate investing. So, and that's an example of OPM, and leveraging OPM is using real estate. And we'll talk about that another time. But I hope this information has been helpful. I'm so glad that you decided to join me here again on Winning Wednesday and Winning with Lisa. Again, my channel is Winning and Living Golden. And I will see you back here every Wednesday. We're talking about tasty topics. The first Wednesday of the month is life. The second Wednesday, which is today, is finance. We're talking about heart and spirit, and we're talking about business. All those tasty topics just for you. So thank you again for joining me here on Winning with Lisa, where we win, we win, we win. And I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned, take care, and be blessed.